the least of these. Let's look at some examples of this. He stopped a huge crowd when he was on the way to Jairus' house. A sick woman touched the fringe of his garment and received healing. Her condition, which she'd suffered for 12 years, had made her unclean according to the rules of the Torah of the Jews. And being a woman made her even less important. She was worth nothing in the eyes of society. But he turned around, and you can read this in Luke 8:43. Daughter, your faith has made you whole. Amazing. He allowed an interruption when friends of a sick man opened the roof to lower him down to Jesus. And he said to him, your sins are forgiven. Now stand up and walk. Again, the woman at the well, being a woman of very low status, and even worse, she was a Samaritan. The Jews absolutely looked down on Samaritan as just not worth anything. Yet he treated her with respect, and she became a witness for the kingdom. Remember, in that town of Sychar, Jesus stayed for 2 days and evangelized the local population. Okay. Then in John, there's the story of the woman accused of adultery. He treated her with kindness and asked her at the end, is there anyone left to condemn you? And she said, no one, Lord. He said, neither do I condemn you. Go in peace. And he healed on the Sabbath. Oh, this was really a no-no according to the Jews. The Gospels mention 7 healings that he did on Sabbath, and I'm sure there were many more. He healed the sufferer right then. He didn't say, look, let's wait till sunset and then we'll do this for you. They were there in front of him. They were very important. He healed them right now. Even though in most of the instances recorded in the Gospels, he got a great deal of criticism for doing this. But, so healing on the Sabbath, showing it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath and to give help to the poor, the needy. Then he welcomed mothers with their little children in the midst of talking to his disciples. I'd like to dwell on this just a moment. Children had no status at that time. They were almost regarded as disposable. It's a hard thing to say. But if we keep in mind that up to 50% of all children died before the age of 18, and this happened up until about 150 years ago, before there were changes in progress in medicine and in society. This was an age with no access to antibiotics, oxygen, intravenous fluids, improvement in sanitation and vaccines. Perhaps these mothers had already suffered loss, and they were seeking some comfort in asking Jesus to bless their little ones. You can just imagine it. And the disciples say, no, go away, you're interrupting us now. No, said Jesus, let the little children come to me, for this is what the kingdom of heaven is. And in Matthew 18, this is a chapter just before this happened, Matthew 18, verse 2-6, he also put a young child in the midst of them and encouraged them to receive the kingdom of heaven like a child who is totally dependent on his parents. The next instance is he forgave the sinner on the cross beside him, bringing hope to a man considered by society to be the lowest of all, and yet he promised him that one day he would be in paradise. Another one, he cared for the lepers who asked. Now, if there was ever one group that was marginalized and outcast, it was lepers. Remember that lepers The skin diseases they had weren't necessarily leprosy. It may have been psoriasis, it may have been some form of dermatitis or whatever, or it could have been leprosy. But somebody with a chronic incurable skin disease like that was cast out. One leper came and asks, "If you are willing, you can make me clean." And he replied, "I am willing. Be clean." And he touched that leper. Most lepers stood back ringing bells saying, "Unclean, unclean, don't come near us." And their families were put down food for them and run away before they came to pick it up. And Jesus reached out to them, touched them, and healed them. We all need the love of Jesus in our hearts and return to show his love to others. In Matthew 10, verse 42, "Whoever gives only a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, I tell you the truth, he will never lose his reward." It's an amazing promise. We may feel we are unimportant, that we're not making a difference anywhere. Remember that even the fall of a sparrow is noted by Jesus. I've asked for this text to be put on Matthew 10:31 on the screen. Is it? You are more valuable than many sparrows. Fear not, you are more valuable than many sparrows. In the King James, fear ye not, you have more value than many sparrows. It's talking about, isn't a sparrow sold for a farthing, for a quarter penny, which is nothing? But you're more precious than that. You are precious in his eyes, no matter what. And the poor, the weak, the vulnerable, the marginalized are precious to them as well. Let us not forget them. God bless us today with his promise.